Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Midlands online worship service. My name is Maxine Detler and I am the worship associate for this morning's service. If you haven't already, please type into the chat box who you are and who you brought with you today. Unitarian Universalism is a welcoming and inclusive religion. It encourages us to keep open hearts and minds because our own experience, conscience, and reason are the final authorities in religion. It affirms the inherent worth and dignity of every person and that we are all connected to each other and the earth. If you are visiting us today, a special welcome to you. We appreciate you spending some of your Sunday morning with us. If you have any questions, please let us know in the chat box, by phone, or through our Facebook page. Please look for the link in the chat to tell us a little bit more about yourself. If you've been attending for some time and have come to feel that this is your spiritual home and you are considering becoming a member of the fellowship, please contact our minister, Eric Severson, our office administrator, Wendy Altmeyer, or let us know of your interest in the chat box. If you have a chalice or candle at home and would like to join in our chalice lighting remotely, now would be a good time to get that ready. We will be including joys and sorrows this morning as we normally do during the service. You will want to find the participant icon to raise your hand for that. And we will now move on to announcements. You should see them on your screen. Next week's service, Staying Relevant, is on Sunday at 10:30. Religious affiliation has fallen sharply in the last 20 years, and the number of nuns has increased. How might Unitarian Universalism and our fellowship need to change to remain relevant in a changing world? This will be led by the Reverend Eric Severson. Virtual religious education class is today at 1 p.m. Please join us. And now we have a special announcement from our auction team.
The Serendipity auction is coming up in just a little over a month, and there aren't nearly enough donations yet. I had thought I had plenty of time to come up with a creative donation and enter it at bit.ly/serendipity-auction/2021. But now I see that the auction team wants donations entered by next Sunday. Okay, deep breath. No need to scream. I just have to make sure I enter a donation between now and Sunday. And if I'm not sure, I can just get in touch with Vicky Rothar, Janelle Domback, Alicia Toyzan, or Sarah Nussworn. Oh wait, that's me. And they will help me enter my item over the phone or a Zoom chat. It's going to be a great virtual auction, and no one needs to worry. Not even them.
Thank you, Sarah. The UUFOM COVID-19 Task Force is looking at ways we can safely reopen. I just want to add in here that so far of the people, 55% of the fellowship that have notified me have been vaccinated. So we're on our way. So if you have been vaccinated, please contact me, Maxine Detler, via text, email, or phone. I am not getting this information by stalking your Facebook page, so please let me know. The UU Virtual Easter Egg Hunt 2021 is live and will be available through the end of April. If you have any pictures or content for the new website, please send them to office@uufom.org. Further information, including a Stop Hunger Challenge for the food pantry, information from the Mid-American region, and more can be found in our weekly Candle Flame newsletter or on our Facebook Friends group. After today's service, please go to UUFOM/Sunday Feedback and provide feedback for today's service. If you would like a paper copy of the photo video media release, UUFOM directory, or any other form mailed or dropped off to you, please contact Wendy at office@uufom.org or 989-631 1162 and leave a message. Watch your email for more announcements in our Candle Flame newsletter. During the spring months, the newsletter will be circulated on Fridays. If you wish to be added to our newsletter, submit an article by Wednesday at 5 p.m. or have
next weekend.
any questions about any of these announcements.
That's good with Hallie. Then we can do tomorrow with Hallie and Drew and Millie.
If you have a candle or chalice at home and would like to light it now, please do so. Please join in a responsive reading for our chalice lighting words today, titled Nurture This Precious Light by the Reverend Naomi King, adapted. How shall we begin to live out our free faith?
Nurture this precious light.
When we do, we are beacons of freedom, creating a safe place to rest, explore, and innovate.
Nurture this precious light.
How we keep this lamp of truth and justice affects how and whether we are transforming inequity through witness and action.
Nurture this precious light.
As we nurture this precious light together, we become a light of hope, turning isolation into community, anguish into peace, sorrow into joy.
Nurture this precious light.
As we do, our faith burns a steady flame of innovation, banishing illusion, creating a new and renewing way together.
Nurture this precious light.
With our living connections, with our glowing stories, with our flame of freedom moving hand to hand, we
Nurture this precious light.
together we turn this world from bleak to bright, one flame, one fire, one light at a time. Now, Reverend Eric will share our opening words.
Thank you, Maxine. Our opening words for today are titled Holy is This Place by the Reverend Maureen Killeran. Holy are the places of memory, the places which have formed us, where we store the icons of success and shattered dreams and gather the threads and pieces of what we would become. Holy are the places of memory. Holy are the places of the dream, the places over the rainbow, where all children are wanted and all people are fed, where colors are the source of celebration, and youth and age come to the table as one. Holy are places of the dream. Holy are the places of change and pain, the places of our struggle, where the rivers of our lives run white and fast and we hold on and grow. Holy are the places of change and pain. Holy are the places of connection, the places where we risk ourselves, where hands, touch souls, touch minds, and in awareness still we change our lives. Holy are the places of connection. Holy are the places of becoming, the places of clear vision, where life and world are intertwined, and we can see forever in this moment and give thanks. Holy are the places of becoming.
Thank you, Reverend Eric. With your mics muted, please join Melanie Willison, Sandy Hay, and Reverend Eric in singing our opening hymn, number 22, Dear Weaver of Our Lives Design.
Dear weaver of our lives' design, whose patterns all obey, with skillful fingers gently guide the a sturdy thread that will survive the tangle of our days. Take up the fabric of our lives with hands that gently hold. Bind in the ragged edge that care would sunder and that pain would tear, and mend our raveling souls. Let eyes that in the plainest cloth our hidden beauty see, discern in us our richest hues, show us the patterns we may use to set our spirits free.
Thank you, Melanie, and thank you, Sandy. Our story today is Becoming Me, a story of creation by Martin Borison, illustrated by Christopher Gill Van Cartwright. Once upon a time, I was. There was nobody who knew that I was, but I was. I liked to make myself into different shapes, lots of different shapes, all me. Everywhere I looked, there was only me. I must be very big. I played by myself for ages. It seemed like forever. Then I started to get lonely. I wanted someone else to play with, someone who wasn't me. So I took a deep breath, gathered all my strength together, and squeezed really hard. I started to feel dizzy. It felt like I was falling. And then suddenly, in a big burst, I became something else. This was so much fun. I did it again and again, lots of different ways. I do it all the time now. I can become all kinds of things that grow and swim and crawl and fly and run. One day I squeezed extra hard. I pushed and I pushed and I pushed. And then all of a sudden I became you. What is this thing I'm in? Just one moment ago, I was so big, and now I'm so little. It's like I'm all wrapped up in love. But as soon as I become you, you forget that you're me. In time, you forget all about me. Every so often, you wonder who you are. And I'm right here reminding you, I'm always busy now, cheering you on. I like it best when you discover me. Then we play together, you and I. And sometimes you realize that you are me. Sometimes you forget that everything else is me too. But even then, I still love you, little me. I invite you now to center yourselves and enter into a time of reflection, meditation, or prayer. Today's meditation, Now I Become Myself, is by poet May Sarton. Now I become myself. It's taken time, many years and places. I have been dissolved and shaken, worn other people's faces, run madly as if time were there, terribly old, crying a warning, hurry, you will be dead before... What? Before you reach the morning, or the end of the poem is clear, or love safe in the walled city? Now, to stand still, to be here, feel my own weight and density. The black shadow on the paper is my hand. The shadow of a word as thought shapes the shaper falls heavy on the page is heard. All fuses now, falls into place. From wish to action, word to silence. My work, my love, my time, my face, gathered into one intense gesture of growing like a plant. As slowly as the ripening fruit, fertile, detached, and always spent, falls but does not exhaust the root, so all the poem is, can give, grows in me to become the song, made so and rooted by love. Now there is time, and time is young. Oh, in this single hour I live, all of myself, and do not move. I, the pursued who madly ran, stand still and stop the sun. I invite you now to share in a video interlude by singer-songwriter Leah Morris. She invites us as we listen to remember those people and places and experiences that have made us who we are.
Who I am today will not be who I am tomorrow, and who I am tomorrow will keep changing every day. And all the things I learned might fill my heart with joy or sorrow, and everything I learned might make me want to change my ways. Oh, there is nothing, no thing that ever stays the same. That is the one thing that life does guarantee. There is no one on earth, no one who knows what path their life will take, and no one knows what I will see as I keep becoming me. The family you were raised in does not dictate who you marry, and the country you were born in won't decide where you are buried, and all you once believed might leave you stranded on an island where the only way back home is to abandon it as lies. And there is nothing, no thing that ever stays the same. That is the one thing, one thing that life does guarantee. There is no one on earth, no one who knows where their lives what path their life will take, and no one knows what I will see as I keep becoming me. Becoming me, I must stay open to the change, curious and free, and always ready to be rearranged. There is nothing that ever stays the same. That is the one thing that life does guarantee. There is no one on earth, no one who knows what course their life will take, and no one knows who I will be as I keep becoming me, as I keep becoming me, as I keep becoming me, as I keep becoming.
Maxine will share our reading for today.
Thank you, Reverend Eric. Our reading today is excerpts from Becoming by former First Lady Michelle Obama. My father, Fraser, taught me to work hard, laugh often, and keep my word. My mother, Marion, showed me how to think for myself and to use my voice. Together in our cramped apartment on the south side of Chicago, they helped me see the value in our story, in my story, in the larger story of our country. Even when it's not pretty or perfect, your story is what you have, what you will always have. It is something to own. The important parts of my story, I was realizing, lay less in the surface value of my accomplishments and more in what undergirded them. Those many small ways I've been buttressed over the years, and the people who helped build my confidence over time. I remember them all, every person who ever waved me forward, doing his or her best to inoculate me against the slights and indignities I was certain to encounter in the places I was headed. All those environments built primarily for and by people who were neither Black nor female. These were people who mostly didn't know one another and would never have occasion to meet, many of whom I'd fallen out of touch with myself. But for me, they formed a meaningful constellation. These were my boosters, my believers, my own personal gospel choir singing, "Yes, kid, you've got this," all the way through. I've been lucky to have parents, teachers, and mentors who'd fed me with a consistent, simple message: you matter. As an adult, I wanted to pass those words to a new generation. I wasn't fully prepared. When I set foot inside the Elizabeth Garrett Anderson School, an inner city secondary school in the Islington neighborhood of London, and was ushered to an auditorium where about 200 students had gathered. I went to the lectern to speak. I could barely contain my emotion. I glanced down at my prepared notes, but suddenly had little interest in them. Looking up at the girls, I just began to talk, explaining that though I had come from far away, carrying this strange title of First Lady of the United States, I was more like them than they knew. That I too was from a working class neighborhood, raised by a family of modest means and loving spirit. That I'd realized early on that school was where I could start defining myself. That an education was a thing worth working for. That it would help spring them forward in the world. In different moments as First Lady, I'd felt overwhelmed by the pace, unworthy of the glamour, anxious about our children, and uncertain of my purpose. But here, finally, speaking to those girls, I felt something completely different and pure, an alignment of my old self with this new role. Are you good enough? Yes, you are, all of you. In 2011, I'd taken a group of 37 girls from the school to visit the University of Oxford to give them a glimpse of what was possible. All of us believe you belong here, I'd say, as they sat in the Gothic old world dining hall surrounded by professors and students who come out for the day to mentor them. I said something similar anytime we had kids visit the White House. Teens we invited from Standing Rock Sioux Reservation, children from local schools who showed up to work in the garden, high schoolers who came for our career days and workshops in fashion, music, and poetry. Even kids I only got to give a quick but emphatic hug to in a rope line. The message was always the same. You belong. You matter. I think highly of you. If there's one thing I've learned in life, it's the power of using your voice. I tried my best to speak the truth and shed light on the stories of people who are often brushed aside. It was possible, I knew, to live on two planes at once, to have one's feet planted in reality, but pointed in the direction of progress. It was what I had done as a kid on Euclid Avenue, what my family and marginalized people more generally had always done. You get somewhere by building that better reality, if at first only in your mind. Or as Barack had put it, you may live in the world as it is, but you can still work to create the world as it should be. At 54, I am still in progress, and I hope that I always will be. For me, becoming isn't about arriving somewhere or achieving a certain aim. I see it instead as forward motion, a means of evolving, a way to reach continuously toward a better self. The journey doesn't end. I become a mother, but I still have a lot to learn from and give to my children. I became a wife, but I continue to adapt to and be humbled by what it means to truly love and make a life with another person. I have become, by certain measures, a person of power, and yet there are moments still when I feel insecure or unheard. It's all a process, steps along a path. Becoming requires equal parts patience and rigor. Becoming is never giving up on an idea that there's more growing to be done. Kids wake up each day believing in the goodness of things, in the magic of what might be. They're uncynical, believers at their core. We owe it to them to stay strong and keep working to create a more fair and humane world. For them, we need to remain both tough and hopeful, to acknowledge that there's more growing to be done. Here is what I have to say finally. It's not about being perfect. It's not about where you get yourself in the end. There's power in allowing yourself to be known and heard, in owning your unique story, in using your authentic voice. And there's grace in being willing to know and hear others. This, for me, is how we become. Now let's share an interlude, excerpts from Sonatina Opus 13, number 1, by Dmitri Kabalevsky, played for us today by Melanie Lillison.
Thank you again, Melanie. Once again, you have transported us. I learned a new term this week on social media: virtue signaling is a pejorative term for when someone expresses what is perceived as a morally disingenuous viewpoint with the intent of communicating good character. For example, when our most recent former US president posthumously pardoned Susan B. Anthony in 2020, that was largely seen as disingenuous virtue signaling. I had simply expressed concern online about the wisdom of holding Taste of Midland activities during a nationally noted COVID spike in Michigan. When I commented how my expression of care and concern for others had been misconstrued as cowardice, I was informed by one troll that my virtue signaling was just gross. I also was told that I obviously was not a religious person. And administrators removed my post altogether shortly thereafter. Clearly, I am just beginning to learn the contours of what constitutes moral discourse here in Michigan. This experience will not stop my contributing to continuing to share such messages or even actions of care and concern in the public sphere. But I will choose my venues more carefully over time. I will also note that I then spent 2 hours yesterday afternoon demonstrating my religious values, if not signaling virtues, by helping with a roadside cleanup on our fellowship's stretch of Eastman Avenue. Oh, and by the way, if anyone knows Brad, give Brad 1.5 cups of food. How does this relate to today's topic? Well, it's an example of how I am continuing to become, with all humility, the best Unitarian Universalist minister I can be. As Michelle Obama and others have pointed out, becoming is a never-ending process. The last time I spoke from this pulpit about 2 weeks ago, I invited our young people to talk with their folks about what they hope to do when they grow up. This week I read this comment by Michelle Obama. I think it's one of the most useless questions an adult can ask a child. What do you want to be when you grow up? As if growing up is finite, as if at some point you become something and that's the end. So kids, I stand corrected. Michelle Obama is right about this and many other things. In her book, Becoming, Michelle Obama also mentions her husband Barack's question, do we settle for the world as it is, or do we work for the world as it should be? This is a paraphrase, I think, of this statement by the author E.B. White. I arise in the morning torn between a desire to improve or save the world and a desire to enjoy or savor the world. This makes it hard to plan the day. Many a sermon has been written on whether and how to save or savor the world. A ministerial colleague of mine, the Reverend Teresa Soto, recently had this to say about Barack's question. For Unitarian Universalists, this question is always on the table. Which way are we headed? One thing COVID-19 and a global pandemic have taught us is that sometimes we can't predict the path. But if, along with the question of where we are going, we ask the question, who are we becoming as we go, the answers may prove illuminating. And so one question for us to ponder today and in months to come as we slowly emerge from under this pandemic malaise is, who do we want to become? Well, it might help for us to begin with understanding who we have been and who we are now. As I was reminded yesterday online, we must not allow others to define us. Rather, let us reflect on who we know ourselves to be. Who are we, individually or collectively, as UUs, as Michiganders, as North Americans, and so on? Michelle Obama stresses the need to know ourselves, and so does poet May Sarton. She seems to suggest in today's meditation that we can know ourselves only in the present moment, as our shadows fall across the paper or as our thoughts are heard. Now I become myself. Now I stand still to be here, feel my own weight and density, my work, my love, my time, my face gathered into one intense gesture of growing like a plant. Oh, in this single hour I live, all of myself, and do not move. Leah Morris, too, in her interlude, celebrates this need to know oneself. She aligns her song with the Buddhist quote, "The foot feels the foot when it touches the ground." In other words, who we are becomes clear to us in our relationships to the rest of the world. Morris, too, recognized that who I am today will not be who I am tomorrow, and who I am tomorrow will keep changing every day. She acknowledged that what we experience and learn today may make us want to change our ways. Like Michelle Obama, Morris echoes that no one on earth can know the path we will take or who we will become. But that the one thing life can guarantee is that nothing stays the same. I must stay open to the change, curious and free, sang Morris, always ready to be rearranged. She noted elsewhere in some commentary that we all go through experiences that help us find or divine or define who we are. And she invited us to reflect on those moments that have helped us become who we are. I hope you will feel free to share these with one another in our breakout sessions after the service. In our Time for All Ages, the story of creation was told from the perspective of the all in all, of how each of us was made, each of us just one more unique, exquisite piece of that which is, of how we sometimes forget, but sometimes remember that we and everything else is made of miraculous stuff. And of how we might understand that through our very existence, we continue to be held in love. Our opening hymn appealed to the weaver of our lives' design to guide the sturdy threads that will survive the tangle of our days, to gently hold the fabric of our lives and mend the ragged edges of our raveling souls, to see in us our hidden beauty, our richest hues, and to show us the patterns we may use to set our spirits free. It's sometimes hard to hear these lyrics while we're singing. All of these views resonate in various ways with our Unitarian Universalist values, sources, theologies, and guiding principles. So, who are we, and who do we want to become? Michelle Obama stressed with importance that each of us has and always will have a unique story. She also noted how the important parts of her story lay less in her accomplishments and more in the many small ways she had been supported over the years and the people who had helped build her confidence over time. She mentioned how her father Fraser taught her to work hard, laugh often, and keep her word, and how her mother Marion showed her how to think for herself and to use her voice. In her book, she listed a whole raft of other people I did not include in today's excerpts. Who have these folks been in your life? Your boosters, your believers, your personal gospel choir? What names and faces come to mind? In pastoral care and spiritual practice, this kind of activity might be called engaging in a periodic life review. It's something you might do on New Year's Eve, or at the start of the school year, or on your birthday, or when you're gravely ill. What were some of the moments in your life that made you who you are? Who were some of the folks who helped you make certain choices? And how else would you define your various identities? Who you've been to this point? There's so many to go through. Age, socioeconomic class, educational level, gender, ability, sexual orientation, ethnicity, birth order, relationship or parental status, citizenship, political affiliation, spiritual or religious identity. We are such richly varied and complex individuals, and yet we have so much more in common than not. One of the reasons I think that Michelle Obama is so highly respected and admired is the moral obligation she wrote about to pass on to others the support she has received. Like others before her, she is regarded as a moral exemplar, someone whom we might emulate. Have you felt this same obligation to some degree? If so, who have you passed your support on to? What names and faces come to mind? Finally, I'm intrigued by Michelle Obama's description of living on two planes at once. To have one's feet planted in reality, but pointed in the direction of progress. This feels entirely congruent with the guiding principles of Unitarian Universalism. Though much of our tradition and many of us within it come out of contexts of great privilege, we do strive with great humility and hope to acknowledge real life challenges and to create a more just and equitable world for one another and future generations. I do think Barack's Unitarian Universalist upbringing shines in comments like, "You may live in the world as it is, but you can still work to create the world as it should be." I invite you to research his Unitarian Universalist upbringing. Who are we today as a fellowship? Faces have changed even since I arrived 2 years ago, which is as it should be. How has the membership changed in the last 5 years? What are its needs? How might we better serve one another and our community? It's been several years since this congregation developed its strategic plan. We need to revisit our vision, mission, covenant, and strategic directions. I invite you to support your board and other leaders in this process to decide who we want to become. Like Michelle Obama, it is important for us as individuals, as a fellowship, as a faith tradition to acknowledge that we still and always are in progress and wouldn't want it any other way. Becoming isn't about arriving somewhere or achieving a certain aim, she wrote, as it is forward motion, a means of evolving, a way to reach continuously toward a better self. The journey doesn't end. Whatever our various identities, we still have much to learn. Like she, we continue to adapt to and be humbled by what it means to truly love. Becoming requires equal parts patience and rigor, she wrote. We owe it to our children to stay strong and keep working to create a more fair and humane world, to remain both tough and hopeful, to acknowledge that there's more growing to be done. Becoming is not about being perfect, she wrote. It's not about where you get yourself in the end. There's power in allowing yourself to be known and heard, in owning your unique story, in using your unique voice. And there's grace in being willing to know and hear others. This, for her, is how we become. So as we live out our free faith, may we allow ourselves to be known and heard. As we share our living connections, may we own our unique stories and use our authentic voices. May we demonstrate our values, if not signal our virtues. May we demonstrate our values, if not signal our virtues. As we transform inequity through witness and action, may we offer grace in being willing to know and hear others. Blessed be and amen.
We affirm the work of this fellowship and its mission with our time, talent, and treasure. We continue to rely on you paying your pledges and providing what you would otherwise drop in the collection plate. Please give as generously as you can, and may what you give bring you joy. Thank you for your generosity. Let's share now in an offertory more excerpts from Sonatina Opus 13, number 1 by Dmitry Kabalevsky, played for us today by Melanie. Thank you, Melanie. Now, with your mics muted, please join Melanie, Sandy, and Reverend Eric in singing our closing hymn, number 131, Love Will Guide Us, with words by Sally Rogers and music arranged by Betty A. Wilder.
peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Thank you, Melanie and Sandy. Our closing words today, Love After Love, are by Derek Walcott. The time will come when with elation you will greet yourself, arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, sit here, eat. You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all your life, whom you have ignored for another who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit. Feast on your life. Thank you to everyone who helped make this service possible today, and thank you all for joining us today. We invite you to stay to chat if you can. Whatever you may encounter in the coming week, please know that the love of this community goes with you. Until we're together again, many blessings. And now Wendy will share more information about supporting our fellowship.